everyone. This is Pat Mesiti live at 5 in No Grey Zone. Happy Father's Day. Fiesta to all the fathers out there, and not such a happy Father's Day for some of the people of Victoria and for our nation. I began to think today, what is the emotional state of not just people of Victoria, but the country? I just came off here listening to our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, who assures us how wonderful Australia is. We're leading the world in protecting people. Scott, no one's buying it, mate. I hate to tell you. You're obviously not reading the temperament of the country. Talked about how we're up there with Taiwan. Well, we didn't do what Taiwan did, Scott. We're doing what Dan, Palaszczuk, and everyone else around the country, little despots, are deciding to do. And he basically, in a nutshell, threw his arms up and said that basically there's nothing he can do. Which begs the question, why do we need a Prime Minister for? I'm at a loss. You are the Prime Minister. And there is a lot that we can do, and people feel exasperated. They feel despair. I woke up this morning, not such a great feeling when it seems like there's one rule for one group of people and one group for the other. The double standards are amazing. Let me give you an example. Just in the United States, no one can go to a hairdresser, but Nancy Pelosi can go, and then the left, as they always do, as in the case of Dan and Palaszczuk, they blame the people. Nancy blamed the hairdresser. Dan blames the people of Victoria. Palaszczuk blames New South Wales. And there are double standards everywhere. Over here in Queensland, just down the road from me, there's all these high-flying AFL executives who flew here, stayed at a beautiful resort, by the way. The wine, the food, they're all flowing. For whatever reason, I can't work out. You can only have 10 people in a home, but a few weeks' time, we can all have 30, 40,000 at the Gabba to watch a game that we don't understand. Maybe there's something I'm missing here, and I'm not an AFL guy, and certainly don't want to get lambasted for that. The double standard that, me as a dad, if I go to New South Wales and visit my kids, my grandkids, I've got to come up here and be locked in quarantine for 2 weeks, and I'm actually healthy. For the first time in the history of what I can see anyway, the healthy are locked up and in quarantine for no reason, except for a couple of despots, such as Palaszczuk and Dan Andrews dictated. People are exasperated because of the double standards, where you can have police allowing people to run free on a Black Lives Matter, but yet they can walk into a house of a lady who's about to go to a march and arrest her for inciting a riot. She didn't incite a riot. She just said she was going to go to a march. People are exasperated because the same, bullying policeman can get up there and basically say, hey, well, there weren't laws prohibiting the Black Lives Matter march. No, but we had COVID. And there were laws. Just that Dan changed them. And now the police in Victoria have to enforce them. People are exasperated because people like Dan Andrews can't answer a straight damn question. When he's asked about the arrest of Zoe down there in Victoria, he said he didn't know about it. Well, what's your media department doing, Dan? Don't they inform you of what's going on? 1.4 million views in 4 hours. Man, you're probably the only guy in Australia who didn't see it. Again, you're probably lying, which is the norm down there. People are exasperated. Why? Because we have scientific modelling that's completely wrong, and now we're relying on scientific modelling again to dictate the future. People are exasperated. Why? Because of double standards, because they've been treated like fools, because they've been lied to, they can't see their families. And it seems to me that the politicians in our country, from Scott Morrison to Dan Andrew to Palaszczuk to all of them, what do? They hide. They're not honest. To me, it makes me start to think that we ought to have some other political parties and we ought to vote for them. I know pretty soon we've got an election here in Victoria, and I don't know that I'm encouraging people to even vote for the Liberal Party, because up here they don't seem to be doing much. Someone said to me, a federal member, well, we're going to be doing a lot more infrastructure. I don't care about your infrastructure. I don't want to drive on a road that I'm going to be banned for driving. I don't care about your infrastructure. We want to see our families. We want to get back to jobs. Infrastructure might be important to you because it gets you elected. It doesn't help us see our family. There's no point having infrastructure when you can't ride 5 kilometers down the road, guys. And I know this afternoon's a bit of a rant on my behalf. But we're becoming a nation of leaderless leaders. And it seems like they have no ability to apologize. They have no ability to say, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. We have a prime minister that all he's hell-bent on right now is a vaccine. A lot of people, particularly the Christian faith, are apparently opposed to. It seems to me that they have no regard for helping people build their immune system. They're too busy rushing to a vaccine. It makes you wonder why, thinking the vaccines work. People are exasperated. Why? Because their relatives are dying in hospitals, and they're not dying of COVID, but they put them down as COVID. It's happened on more than one occasion. You and I know it. You know, in the movie Son of a Woman, Al Pacino, there is a scene where he speaks about there's nothing more worse than an amputated soul. And right now, the mood of our nation is that our soul is being amputated. The disappointment, and I know we'll get over it. I know we'll get over it, and I know we'll get through this. But you know, people aren't stupid, and they can see that the politicians of our country are lying, treating them like fools, doing this bribe and threat, and you know, passing laws in the early hours of the morning when no one's around. So people are suspicious if they feel like their trust is broken. Now, I don't know about you out there, and I suppose today what I'm looking for is a response from you and how you feel. How do you feel about the double standards of our politicians? How do you feel when our politicians give themselves pay rises and yet everyone else are losing their jobs and their businesses? How do you feel about that? How do you feel when a Palaszczuk lets 400 AFL people run around the state, strip clubs, bars and everything else, and, you know, holiday on the taxpayers' dollars, but you can't visit your families? How do you feel when your loved ones are dying of something and they lie about it and they call it COVID when you know it's not COVID? How do you feel about politicians like Nancy Pelosi being able to go to hairdressers, but you can't? I wonder how you feel. Today, I'm kind of conducting this semi-formal survey. How do you feel when your Facebook is shut down, as one of my friends in Victoria is shut down, and basically all he's doing is promoting a spiritual emphasis time? How do you feel when your rights are being eroded away for a country that you dearly love? I'd be interested to know how you feel. What's the state of your emotion? Because I really believe if we can express it, we might be able to get some answers, and we might be able to get some healing in all of this. I, like you, am frustrated, angry, wondering what we can do when our own Prime Minister says that his hands are tied. Well, Scott Morrison, you have a title called the Prime Minister. And I'm wondering whether we're going to need one, where the federal government seems to have no power over despots. It's a sad state of affairs and raises a lot more questions than it does bring answers. This is a very frustrated, subdued and angry Pat Mesiti. I'd like to know how you're feeling out there. This is Pat Mesiti. You have a prosperous life. And by the way, we will get through this.